Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to build a simple REST API using Java and Spring Boot. REST APIs are crucial for modern web applications and Spring Boot make it easy to create production-ready applications. By the end of this video, you'll know how to build and test a simple REST API. Let's get started. First, let's set up our project. The easiest way to create a Spring Boot project is by using a Spring Initializer. Go to a spring.io and here in Projects tab, choose a Spring Initializer. Here we can see a bunch of different options for creating our project. I use Maven as a build tool for this project and Java for language. And for a Spring Boot version, I choose 3.4.1. And here in project metadata, I choose com.example. And for artifact, I prefer to change it to REST API demo. And I choose jar packaging and Java version 21. And here in the other section of this page, you can see the dependencies. I need to add a Spring Web as a dependency for this project. And here you can see in the descriptions that this dependency is used for building RESTful APIs and it uses Apache Tomcat as a default embedded container. So I hit this dependency and hit the generate button. Here we can see that this project is downloaded for us. So I extract it. And here in my IntelliJ, I open the downloaded project. Here we can see that project is going to be open. Here we can see that our project is open and it is ready to be developed. Now that our project is set up, let's create our REST controller. In a Spring Boot, a controller is a class annotated with @REST controller. This annotation automatically serializes and deserializes JSON objects to Java objects and vice versa. So first we need to create a class. Here I create a class by naming it greeting controller, for example, and hit the enter button. So first I annotate this class with REST controller as we said. And here I just write a method that returns a string and name it as greeting. This method just returns a string and we need to return, for example, hello world. And there's just one step left. Here we need to add an endpoint for this method. So I add get mapping and this annotation defines a get endpoint and I add this URL to it for addressing it. So when you hit the URL, it returns a string, in this case, hello world. And that's it for creating simple REST API. Let's now add a more complex endpoint that accepts data from the client. We'll create a post endpoint that receives a person object and returns a greeting message. So first I create a class and name it as person. Then I need to add some fields to it like a string name and I add age to the fields of this class too. And I create getters and setters for this class. As we created this class, then we need to add a new endpoint in the greeting class. So here I write a new method. This method returns a string and I name it as greet. As we said, this method accepts data from client, so I get person as an input. And here I return, for example, this string, hello. The name of the user, for example, you are years old. So as I write down the method, I need to just add two annotations. First, I need to define it as a post mapping. And here I add this endpoint, greet. And I need to add a new annotation, which is called request body. Here's what's happening. The post mapping annotation defines the post endpoint at greet, and request body defines the incoming JSON to the person object. When a client sends a post request with a JSON body, Spring automatically converts it to a person object. As we created our endpoints, let's test it using Postman. First, I open the Postman. As you know, Postman is a tool that you can use it for sending requests and receive responses. And it's a great tool for testing your APIs. First, as you know, we are running our server on our local machine. So I say, for example, localhost port 8080, and our endpoint, we defined it here, is greeting, and we use getMapping as a method. This method returns a string hello world. So in Postman, I use get and just hit the send button. Here we can see we have our output here, hello world. So let's test the other one, and the other one is greet. I add greet. As we mentioned before, this API receives a JSON object. So here I choose JSON and I use post as a method. So I define my JSON here. I say name, for example, Java, and I define age, 1995, and I separate them using comma, and easily I press the send button. Here we can see hello Java, you are 1995 years old. And that's it, you just create a simple REST API in Java using a Spring Boot. We covered creating a controller, and we handled GET and POST requests and testing the APIs using Postman. I hope you find this video helpful. If you did, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future contents. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll happy to help. Thanks for watching and happy coding!